Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast on the internet that has the science and the screaming to figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. You're hearing my voice first, which means, once again, little bad boy Greg, little fucking pirate patch wearing, just tattooed up, spray painting everything. Greg is in the penalty box once again, and I have to take over, and we're going to have to take a week off. Oh, shit, Greg.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to say it, don't spray it, which means just say it and don't spray graffiti on the walls, all of your words.
Sorry.
Now it says sorry on the walls.
It's weird that all of Greg's graffiti, his tag is just sorry. Like he's apologizing while he's vandalizing.
And he puts it underneath, like, really beautiful murals.
Yeah.
He then sprays sorry all over it, and then everybody's like, ooh, that's a Greg. That's a good Greg.
Sorry.
What's your favorite mural of his, Mike? Describe it for us.
It's has to be the tiger hidden in the foliage chasing a deer, and it just says sorry underneath it.
That's sorry 27, and that is so much better than sorry number 36, which gets all of the like that was on the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
The real fucking like howdy doodats. I wish I was in the know. Like sorry 36.
Greg, it's time, and Mike is here as well. Mike, it's time. Cool. Greg, it's time to talk about franchises.
Woo! Franchises!
Now, when I say franchise, but do I have to define every word of the title?
Yeah, it's so there's like a conglomerate, but you can own a little piece. So when you go into a Subway, you're not mad at corporate Subway, you're mad at that owner. You're mad at Jerry and fucking Poughkeepsie.
That would be awesome if, like,
a small fee.
If, like Subway, we could pay a small fee for Spider-Man and just make a Spider-Man movie and have people come and see it.
Yeah, this is just pop filter Spider-Man. You don't confuse it with other Spider-Man.
I feel like 91 has fewer franchises.
I'm going to ask this question to Greg, and then Mike, you and I will take our headphones off and we will walk away for about 12 minutes. 91, Greg, is sometimes called the start of the franchise. And what movie made that happen?
Because of Terminator 2, T2, Judgment Day.
Walk.
Was that a big movie back then?
For me, yes. A very big movie. I think a big movie for the culture. I think we were all prepared to see Terminator 2. And yeah, I mean, it certainly did the franchise thing, which it took a movie that was kind of like small in a lot of ways. Terminator is kind of actually small in scope. It's like one woman's struggle against a robo-oppressor. But T2 broadens that out to like a complete conflict through time and space.
And still in a little bit of ways, in a couple of ways, much like Evil Dead 2, is just a big budget remake.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you only interfaced with Terminator 2. Like if you started at Terminator 2. Yeah, kind of, because it does that thing where it copies the structure of the first movie really closely. Sometimes in an homage, but then other times in like you're just making it over again.
We crushed it the first time, so now we're just going to deal with more money.
I think there are very few franchises, actually, that you do have to watch the other movies. I mean, like, what is one in the history of time where maybe Godfather Part 2 isn't as great if you didn't see Terminator, the first Terminator?
I think if you're watching Casino Royale, you're like, who is this James Bond character?
Does he like it shaken or stirred?
What is England? I don't get this. These letters aren't right.
Daniel Craig? Which one is his last name? Because those are both first names. I'm confused.
Daniel, Craig? This is Craig Daniels?
Ew, I don't think those movies would be as big if his name was Craig Daniels.
This is about name. So this is where sequels start to pop off, and I think Hollywood realizes in the early 90s that IP is the king. Nowhere to the point where it is now, where we don't give a shit about actors and actresses anymore.
Yeah.
We just care about IP, but like this is the way to get your movie greenlit, is to say, we have a sequel coming. But as we go through these franchises, guys, they're in bad shape. They were in bad shape then, and they're in worse shape now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you guys some franchises. We're going to talk about what that meant to 91, where they were then, where are they now, and can the three of us, as like highly paid podcasters / Hollywood consultants /
hunks
/ hunks.
Yeah,
I almost left hunk off.
No,
yeah, I just want to make sure I jumped in there.
It's so sad for the listeners that they cannot see our rippling biceps and
how
triceps.
hunky we are. Yeah,
we do a lot of work to be hunky for just our voices.
sometimes because we all sit very close to each other for some reason,
Super close.
and for some reason, one of us will flex, and that will knock the other two off our chairs.
For some reason, one of us might not flex. I mean, most of the time we're flexing.
Yeah.
Flexing.
What is? I mean, it's weirder for us to not be flexing, right?
Yeah. I'd feel uncomfortable. I have to be flexing to keep my edge.
You got to release the flex slowly so the glistening sweat on your arms doesn't fly onto the other guy's face.
Yeah.
Mike, this is not a point awarded show. We will be awarding no points, but the first franchise we are diving into after the break is Terminator. Are you ready to go up against or even with Greg?
I am ready.
Terminator was, 84? Low budget, like almost basically straight to video movie. And then James Cameron had some hits, and they were like, hey, man, here's $100 million. Here is state-of-the-art CGI equipment. Essentially a magic wand. Point this wand at things, and they'll look like metal, but liquid, but metal, but I don't understand. And Terminator 2 became one of the biggest movies of the year and our lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we've brought up multiple times throughout the season that most of us didn't know that there was a term. Like, we saw that 2 in the title, but didn't know or care.
That's because robots and computers have numbers, right?
Yeah, that must have something to do with Judgment Day. They'll explain it. I'll just show up, and they'll tell me everything I need to know while I'm in the movie. Now, here's my question with this. Like, Terminator 2 is
Judgment Day,
the absolute stratospheric high of this franchise. So, like...
okay, but somebody hasn't seen Terminator Genesis.
Somebody hasn't seen Terminator Genesis, but like
it's all three of us.
We like there's are we taking over, like are we going to fix it from this point forward? Because like it does not need to be fixed after 2, but
No.
basically every single thing they did from that point forward.
We have the IP right now. We own the IP.
In the real world we live in.
We live in, yes. I mean, I'm not fucking with you. Like, I'm not fucking. We own the IP. It's in this folder. What are we going to do with this now? Because we know that this was once the biggest thing on wheels, and it's crazy how much it has dwindled.
I got something. Mike, let me interrupt you right there, Mike. I got something. Can I just like say a seed of a movie for us to focus on? I think our Terminator in the future has to be more like the Judge Dredd remake just a couple of years ago, Dredd, in that is not
big box office failure.
That is not, but a great fucking movie.
So just call this one term. Just cut it short.
Let me tell you what I think that movie did really, really well. It did not tell you exactly how the judge system works. It did not pretend that it was going to show you the entire world.
So wait, Linda Hamilton never came in and explained everything through voiceover?
She did not. It was the story of one building, basically. One, the huge structure, and one judge's interaction with it over one day. And I think that we could maybe grab onto that because they have told the story of the human-robot war over and over and over again, and then Matrix came in and told it a few times more. Like, we don't need the whole overarching story anymore.
No.
I mean, this is pretty good because even Tom Holland Spider-Man is like, everyone knows. Everyone knows Uncle Ben. Like, let's just move on.
And I think another key is hire somebody charismatic because the post-Eddie Furlong, John Connors, Rise of the Machines had some doofus that never did anything else.
I'm sorry. As of this recording, we have not yet watched and done Terminator 2. You're saying that Eddie Furlong is a good John Connor?
I think
good,
yes.
I'm saying he is the best John Connor we've ever seen because Christian Bale sucked in Salvation.
Good for you.
Good for you. It's they overcomplicate it. They forget that the second one made it scary. There's still a lot of horror and tension there. And then they're like, what if it's a giant robot war? Fuck that. That's not what we're here for.
You know what I think they should do? I think what we should do, we should do, is obviously both the humans and the robots go back to prune the timeline.
Yeah.
But they're always making a play. In the movies, they're always making a play for John Connor or Mom Connor. I think what we need to do with our movie going from the future is
Dan Connor.
Somebody minor. Not a Connor at all, but somebody who is like minorly important to something in the struggle. And so then we don't have to deal with the overarching struggle anymore. It's just the story of one scientist who the robots are trying to kill, or even better, the humans are trying to kill, so that the robots can't capture and learn something.
Can't exist or something.
Yeah.
I don't want to say this shit for every franchise that we're in control of, and I think we're in control of 13 after tonight. But I think what Greg is saying, because of like the side characterness of it, this is going to HBO Max, right? Like this is a show. And I know even Terminator has even done the show before. Sarah Connor Chronicles was supposed to be this crazy hit because look at the license that they got, and it was not.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that show.
It absolutely was not a hit at all. But I'm still thinking that somebody like in the purview, in the side view of the Terminator world, like this scientist, should get an HBO Max show. I don't think I'm going to return to movie theaters with Terminator.
No, that's so sad. You know,
They've burnt us,
and also
for 20 years.
We can't, like, James Cameron should be in the Pop Filter Hall of Fame. Like, his involvement in stuff makes things great, and I know he's fun to hate on, and I know, like, it's fun to think about that point where he said, I'm the king of the world when he won the Oscar.
Yes.
But his involvement is key to every franchise that he's in, and when he's not there, they fucking suck.
That's why Titanic 2 was so bad.
So you're thinking bring the cams back.
Well, he produced the last one. And that had Mackenzie Davis.
Uh-huh.
And I was excited about that one, but then it also seemed like it sucked.
And Linda Hamilton. And yeah, it flopped. Maybe just nobody cares anymore.
Maybe. You know what I think part of the problem is? If you think of some of the really iconic scenes in T2, it was so much gun fucking. So much of it was just like, guns are the raddest things there ever were. And I just don't think it's as popular to just watch somebody firing a minigun from like the third story of an office building as it used to be. Because
what about
now
John Wick?
That's gun
that's
fu,
a good,
though. So maybe they need to do some choreography.
Add a little food to it?
Add the foo.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is, too? For Terminator 2, they thought of the perfect second robot. And ever since then, we have been chasing that fucking high.
Yeah, exactly.
And either honestly, the thing to do might be to just say there is no new type of robot because we've only failed to deliver on that. It's like an electricity robot. No, not fun. So maybe instead, that's why I'm thinking the lo-fi roots of this go back to it's two Arnold Schwarzeneggers and they're going against each other.
Oh,
shit! They even did that. Remember they did the CGI young Arnold Schwarzenegger in one of them.
All right, I don't want to suggest this for every franchise, but I think this is the one where it's just halfway through the trailer, it feels like at Terminator 7 or whatever we're at right now, and then somebody's like, some character actor like David Strathairn is like, and we have no way to stop him. Like, there's just no way. And then it cuts to Vin Diesel, and he's like, the only way to stop him is family.
Dude, okay, you know I am a big proponent of your idea to put the fast people into every single movie, but this is definitely a good example of a time where that would work. And I don't think you water down any properties, right? Because it's like, who gives a shit? We've found out, I think just by talking about this, that nobody gives a shit about Terminator anymore. And Fast and Furious, it's not that nobody gives a shit, but it's like they're free to do whatever they want.
They're allowed to do whatever they want. And Vin knows the only robot's weakness is cars.
Dude, just that group of people, just Dom and Letty, trying to figure out how to drive cars in such a way that destroys a Terminator.
I was weirdly going to pitch something that is almost exactly the same as that, which is I think that this should link up with another failing franchise, which is Alien.
Predator or Aliens? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would let this be... I wouldn't bring Predator in yet. I would let this be the bridge. I would just do Terminators v. Aliens. And just go with that. But I do think it needs some sort of injection like that. Something kind of stunty. You know, something like where I don't think there's anything except for really brave, bold reimaginings like this that are going to come in and save this
also
franchise.
Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street, Terminator versus Aliens.
The bad Terminator is Paul Rudd. He just looks younger and younger as the movie goes on.
Let's skip genres. And I don't know if this should have been included because I don't know the definition of franchise, but I think this works. What's his name? Sir Anthony Hopkins was not the first person to play Hannibal Lecter on film.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually Brian Cox who said throughout his entire Hannibal Lecter movie, fuck off.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
Son of a bitch. Fuck off.
Give me Roman. Roman, fuck off.
Romulus.
But I mean, like this was we were starting to see a thing, and then eventually Anthony Hopkins would play Hannibal Lecter multiple times.
Probably better.
There was other ones. I think Jude Law played him once.
Is that
I don't
true?
know. There was a bunch of prequels and sequels, and sometimes Jonathan Demme was involved, sometimes he wasn't.
Mads Mikkelsen played him in that show.
And then there was a TV show. So maybe we don't have to fix it. Maybe the TV show is the perfect way to leave off. But
like, what do people want at a Terminator? Like, what are we doing here, I wonder?
You want to add Terminator to Hannibal? Is that what you're saying, Greg?
And Terminator and Alien. But not Predator.
do we think that the TV show is fine for Hannibal Lecter and we can move on?
It's supposed to be phenomenal.
Yeah, didn't everybody love it a lot? I was never interested.
It is really good.
But I feel like everybody got so into it.
You know why you weren't interested in it? Because it's on NBC. Do you know how hard it is to talk people of our age into watching a show on NBC?
Like, no, come on.
I think in part also it's because I read all those books, and by the time I got done with the book Hannibal, I was like, I'm uncomfortable with how much I like this serial killer character.
Well,
so then I don't think I want to pursue that anymore.
That's the key. What Silence did so well is Jodie Foster is the star. It should be about Clarice. And
yeah.
He's Steve Urkel his way through the rest of the franchise.
Oh,
honestly,
there's another show, another recent show called Clarice.
Right.
So, man, this franchise has been torn apart.
And the book Hannibal is weirdly also about Clarice too. But she's not the main character, but she's in there. It's weird.
Okay, let's move on.
What if Hannibal hosts a kids show?
Oh my gosh. How would that go?
A cooking show for kids.
You know what I was thinking the other day? That back in like the 80s and 90s, the phrase, I think it would go a little something like this, was the most important phrase to stand-up comedy. And I don't think it's been said in an act in like 20 years.
It's only been said by people who say, it might go a little something like this. And then you don't have to say it because everybody just imagines.
The best thing to do is to say it to other people and then watch them freeze. Just like if somebody pitches a premise, just say, and it might go a little something like this.
And then look at them very expectantly.
They shut down. The next one I want to go to, Mike, is Star Trek 6 about whales?
It might be about Wales, the country.
Did we ever figure it out?
I think 4 is Wales.
First of all, what is the state of the franchise right now?
Bad. Well,
right?
No, it's
right now,
it's doing really well on TV.
It's very diffuse. It's one of these franchises where they decided that the thing to do was like
canonize it,
and make a ton of properties based on it, including they're doing the DC thing, including the like we're gonna have a cartoon that rips on the property that is like officially one of the properties.
Is
Lower
it as
Decks.
good as Harley Quinn?
I don't think it's bad. I haven't seen it, to be honest, because I'm not gonna do another. I can't like I'm not to be like an old man, but I'm not going to do another one of these streaming services. And so even though they have all of the Star Treks, and they're clearly trying to make people pay for the streaming service based on the fact that they're going to give you like 8 Star Treks, but it's just too much.
But yeah, because there's currently Picard, Discovery, and Lower Decks, and I think there's other ones coming. They've always done better on TV.
And is the sequel to Lower Decks like Upper Decks, where everybody in the future poops into the top part of the toilet?
That's actually what gets their engines to warp speed.
Oh, that's how you go into space.
Is that the most disgusting thing you can do to somebody? That's really, like, I think that's so vile and hilarious at the same time.
You know what? There's no tool to fix it, so they're using their hand to...
You gotta get one of those, like...
fish feeders?
Yeah, one of, like, the fish nets.
Stockings.
If you do that and think you're still going to be in that person's life, you got another thing coming.
Oh no, that's the Irish goodbye.
Yeah,
instead of saying I don't want to be friends anymore, you upper deck it. It's Star Trek style.
It's poop in, peace out. Like,
does the world give a shit? Does the world want a big thing? So J.J. Abrams' series is over-ish, right?
Yeah,
and Simon Pegg sort of took over. But that's all. I think that's all gone. Quentin Tarantino continues to say that he has a Star Trek movie in the chambers. I don't know if anybody wants that.
Is that like an elaborate prank on
Yeah,
him?
I think it's just he said it once as a joke, and he's like, all right, they ran with it.
But you know what? After reading Quentin Tarantino's novelization of his own movie, that Star Trek movie has to be like a parody / recreation of the TV show that he fell in love with,
Right.
with William Shatner.
A lot of
I don't
the
think
camera shaking and the actors pretending to fall over,
Right. I don't think anybody wants that. We have Galaxy Quest, a actually good movie.
which is amazing. I think that part of the problem with all the Star Trek rehashes, including these old movies, is they're like the original crew. Anytime Star Trek does well, it's here's a new crew that's obviously in the same world. They built up this giant universe. I don't need a new version of Kirk and co. Just have a new crew and do cool shit with it.
Discovery had some cool new crew members, but
Yeah.
ultimately
There was the breakdancer.
ultimately it's a TV show, and I just think that like the grind of making so many different episodes wore on Discovery over time.
Well, let me ask you this. It'd been a long time before Chris Pine's, like between the last Star Trek movie and Chris Pine's Star Trek, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so we had Chris Pine and J.J. Abrams. Big deal. Who would direct now after, like, let's say that's done. Who is it now? Is it Waititi?
Denis Villeneuve.
Really?
Yeah, I think, or Taika Waititi is a good one too. He's going to do the in-call, the Jodorowsky.
People are freaking out about that.
Yeah, well, because it's a big vision that people have fallen in love with, and is Dune adjacent, obviously.
Uh-huh.
And Waititi finally just, I think, officially said, "I'm not going to make Akira because they're not going to let me do it the way I want to. They're not going to let me cast an Asian guy as the lead, so I'm not going to do it." But so like that, it's kind of, I think, taking some of the energy of that along with it. But I'm going to pitch this one time and then not keep doing it. I think what Star Trek needs to do is they need to rediscover the next generation feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think J.J. Abrams reinvigorated the franchise, but I also think he made it that they wanted it to be too much of an action franchise.
Right.
Even like Discovery, even Picard is still too much of an action franchise. Tell me the story of one ship out on the outreaches of space, sort of on its own, not directly in the chain of command, and don't try to give me an entire universe. Try to give me one ship.
And the thing that freaks me out about Star Trek people is that they're like, we love Kirk. It has to be Kirk. Except for all these other captains that have been introduced that we loved. You can't introduce us to a new captain because we only love Kirk, or all of these new captains that you have also introduced us to. So I don't know where to go.
Whole new crew, baby.
Yeah, I think they need a whole new crew.
Don't you dare close your eyes. Because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more franchises. And we're back. I got a franchise for you guys that has been rebooted recently. But I have Greg here, my smart, knowledgeable person who makes good things, and Mike, who likes horror. Where do we go with Nightmare on Elm Street? So this is Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which was, of course, a lie. When you put final in the name of your movie, then you trick people into thinking that it's the last one, but it never is. How do we reboot this really great idea of somebody who comes to attack you in everyone's safe zone, your dreams?
I think it could be, so this one sucked, and the next one was Wes Craven coming back, and it was his proto Scream, where it was the movie in the movie, and then Freddy came out of it. The problem with the reboot was they're like, what if Freddy was really dark and it was Jackie Earle Haley? I'm fine that it wasn't Robert Englund. He's getting older, right? You want to get somebody new, except that Freddy doesn't like run. So why not have?
You need Freddy to be sexy.
Freddy should be sexy, but what if it was old Freddy killing new Freddy? Freddy v. Freddy, Freddy got fingered by Freddy.
I love that idea. Some Freddy on Freddy action. Well, I think this might honestly be like a nobody gives a fuck. I think that people are remembering a certain feeling of 80s horror that isn't like what the movies are actually like, and isn't like accessible anymore. For one thing, I don't think you want Freddy to be that dark, but
right.
I don't think you can make it that horrific without it being that dark.
I mean, the Freddy in my mind is roughly the pun spinner of the Crypt Keeper. Like,
right.
He's just a dumb-ass Joker who likes terrible, terrible jokes.
Okay, how about this?
Oh.
How about we rip something off, and we have Freddy's trying to push through the veil of dreams to come into the real world. And what does he do? He appears on the back of somebody's head. And Freddy is like pushing into the real world.
Can he throw a chair across the room?
He can throw a chair as far as we need him to. And do that weird little scurry.
Fred Lignant.
Fred Lignant.
All right, we're going into speed round, guys. Do we need to reboot the Naked Gun, or are we good? Or, are we just
We're
done with
good.
that style of comedy?
We're done.
Okay. American Tail 3. Is this Fievel goes on a private plane to January 6th?
I think it's reboot it, and Fievel is on the current border during a COVID crisis, and make people fucking care.
So the way to get to these people's hearts, to make them we need them to stop listening to Joe Rogan and start listening to Fievel.
Yeah,
I do
somewhere
like
out there.
I like the idea of the reboot of like it's a Mexican family or a South American family trying to come up.
And he can't find because he's always searching for his family, right? So they were ripped away by people who call themselves heroes at the border.
All right. Highlander 2 was the quickening in 91. Then there was a 3.
And then there was a TV show.
And then there was a TV
with
show.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Now, guys, we have the IP, and we do not have to put Lorenzo Lamas in it.
Why? Come on, we should, though.
No, I'm saying we could, but I do think that he's a big Trump supporter.
Here's what I want for this, and I know this isn't easy to do, but I think it's a pitch we could maybe make work. I think this needs the like Gorman B movie treatment, but like the Death Race 2000 or like something campy and fun, because Highlander is really, really ridiculous. Like there's no way to not capture the story in a ridiculous fashion. But if you could like get really fun swordplay in it,
and
like
do you want like a
scene at the same time?
That is fun swordplay. Do you want like a sidekick like Kat Dennings there to be like swords? Oh, we're doing swords now.
No, I think I don't want that.
Maybe one franchise without the Marvel banter would be fun. Without the Bruce banter. But no, I'm down, Greg, with you, as long as they don't look at the camera and say, like, isn't this weird? And then sort of like meta it. Like, we're doing this on purpose. Just get someone who is fucked up in the head to make something very weird.
Or the other way to do it is go Dune on it. And make it take itself super seriously. So what is ridiculous about it is kind of highlighted by the fact that it treats itself very seriously.
So, can we do David Lynch's Highlander?
David Lynch's Jodorowsky's Dune. Starring Highlander as Highlander.
Save all of that. Save all those directors, because you might want to use them for this one. Our final one. We haven't had a Problem Child movie. And so Problem Child 2 came out in 91. And it was not a success.
Right. Even though Mike loved it and rented it 5 times.
Well, it had a ginger sidekick, which even young Mike knew was sort of his thing.
No, that kid was the star. The girl was the new one.
Oh, right.
Don't come to step when we're talking about problem children.
I won't come to step.
Here's how we reboot this one, because I don't think people care about kids and their hijinks anymore. You kind of give it a we need to talk about Kevin vibe. The problem child shot up his school, and John Ritter has to handle that.
But his nuts are hanging out of his shorts.
That's it for Franchise Rehab. Thank you so much, Mike and Greg. You guys have done a wonderful job. I'm so excited to do many things this season, including what? Terminator 2, Thelma and Louise. So good.
Silence of the Lambs.
Bye.